give it a moment so I don't sound like a chipmunk. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sox Machine Live. I am Josh Nelson, and it is Thursday night, August 19th, 2021, as the Chicago White Sox just wrapped up their series against the Oakland Athletics, and it was a good one. They won 3 out of 4 games against the Oakland A's, and there's a lot to discuss as far as in those 4 games, and it certainly does help wipe away the bad taste in White Sox fans' mouths, especially with the way that the Yankee series concluded at home on that Saturday and Sunday this past weekend, getting some folks to believe, oh my gosh, the White Sox are not going to do well in the postseason. And now, as we are streaming live, everyone's feeling pretty good about the White Sox chances in the postseason. We'll see what happens after this weekend as the White Sox head down to St. Petersburg, Florida, to face the Tampa Bay Rays, who still have the best record in the American League. And that is now a mega matchup and one of the most hyped up series this weekend in Major League Baseball. Joining me on Sox Machine Live, of course, is the managing editor of SoxMachine.com and the co-host of the podcast is Jim Margulis. Hello, Jim. How you doing tonight?
Good. How's your head?
Oh,
yeah, for everybody who doesn't know,
caffeine.
Josh is working through a migraine, so yeah. He's toughing through. He's a soldier. He knows the difference between hurt and injured. And right now he's merely hurt.
That is true. That is true. And also join us, it's been too long, it's Bennett Carroll. What is up, Bennett?
Not too much. Yeah, Hawk Harrelson said he's on his way down to check on you, but I think he should be okay.
All right. I need that. I need Hawk to just bust through this door like the Kool-Aid man and make sure that I am A-okay. And for everyone else that's watching this stream live on our YouTube page at youtube.com/SoxMachine, go ahead and post your comments and questions. We'll try to address them during the course of this episode. For those that are listening to the podcast feed, we'll read them so you can hear them along the way.
You can still talk at the podcast. We won't hear you, but feel free to yell.
Yeah, feel free to yell at us. All right. So, Jim, let's start with this series between the White Sox and the A's and just a general recap. There was an opportunity for the White Sox to sweep Oakland, which if they would have done that, the Houston Astros would have loved the Chicago White Sox because the Astros were having a terrible time in Kansas City. The Royals have been very plucky since the All-Star break. They've won 5 out of 7 against the White Sox, so that team has been playing much better, and it has helped the White Sox as they now have the number 2 seed ahead of Oakland in the postseason race. But it was kind of a bad taste, and thanks to Greg Nick, shout out to Greg for filling in for me on the Sox Machine podcast on Monday. Taking 3 out of 4 against Oakland is still great, and I do believe that it wipes away that bad taste after this weekend series against the Yankees.
Yeah, I think you'd have to say so. It was a little bit of an unfortunate series just with the Chris Bassett line drive getting knocked out. Like, I thought that was the biggest test the White Sox faced, the kind of pitcher who they might see in the postseason, designed to neutralize a right-handed lineup. So to see him leave the game the way he did with Brian Goodwin's line drive hitting him in the head. Fortunately, he just suffered some fractures, but I guess you can have worse facial fractures than the one he had, and the ones he had 3 of them. So, you hope that he recovers, but I think just we've seen that this year with the White Sox suffering an injury early on. They just kind of go through the motions to get through the game and spend the afterwards recovering as a team. And Oakland did the same thing. Just they were happy to get the game over with. And so, and then, the series ended with Elvis Andrus colliding with Starling Marte in center field. Just it felt like almost the how White Sox fans or the White Sox might feel about the Oakland Coliseum. Yeah, it might be the kind of turnabout to where all of a sudden Oakland's having some bad memories or flashbacks at Guaranteed Rate Field. So it felt a little bit maybe not the series we thought it was going to be just because of that one line drive, how it changed the complexion of everything. But the White Sox have to play the games as they unfold. They won the first 3. They were able to rest Tim Anderson before 2 tough series in artificial turf parks, and then almost won that game too. So, they made some mistakes. It's kind of like the Yankees series, that their losses against good teams are getting better. Like, it's not like the Houston series where they're getting the doors blown off them thinking, right, they're a central fraud. In this case, they're just, when they lose, there's a traceable reason why and a correctable reason why. That's not always going to be the case, but for the time being, from what we've seen recently, that their losses are more explicable.
Well, Bennett, I think for this month so far for the White Sox, and especially in this series, we saw the impact of having Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert, both of them back in the lineup. And the numbers so far in the month of August, and we talked about this, that maybe Eloy and Luis would need some time to get acclimated back to Major League pitching, that they're not going to have hot starts, and White Sox fans are going to have to be patient. If this is a slow start from Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez, I can't wait to see what a hot start looks like, because Luis Robert in the month of August is hitting .394 with a .412 on base percentage, and he's slugging .636. Eloy Jimenez is hitting .339 with a .364 on base percentage, slugging .677. Eloy's got 5 home runs and 6 doubles. He's already got 19 RBIs, and we're just halfway through the month of August. How large of an impact is having Robert and Jimenez back in the lineup? And is this a sign of bigger things to come for the White Sox offense before the regular season ends?
Yeah, I think legitimately, if you had asked White Sox fans honest opinions of what to expect that first month back from Robert and Jimenez, like, I don't think you would have gotten half of what they've done. You know, oh, he's hitting .280. He's got some power. It's not there. Oh, he's making some plays in the field. The bat struggle. They are playing out of their minds. And it's been good to see that their performance hasn't been like early in the year. It would feel like, you know, we'd have two or three bats kind of going off and the rest of the lineup struggling. It's nice to see these 2 bats hitting well and it actually lifting almost the rest of that lineup, where rather than 2 or 3 good bats, it's 2 really good bats that are lifting 3 bats into being also good bats with guys. You've seen the way Andrew Vaughn's been playing out of his mind. Tim Anderson's had some strong bounce back. Jose Abreu is still tied for the lead in the MLB and RBIs when he hit that bet. And, you know, just seeing other bats start to wake up because these 2 guys are coming in. Again, I remember reading like Eloy Jimenez wasn't going to have any power until 2022. And that Luis Robert was going to be a very slow start, and they've came in and literally gone off the deep end in how well they've been hitting.
Are you surprised, Jim, with how quickly out of the gates both Jimenez and Robert have been hitting since coming off the injured list?
Yeah, I think you have to be. I think I'm more surprised by Robert more than Jimenez, because we saw with Jimenez, like the first handful of games back, he was swinging at 2/3 of everything, just kind of either beating pitches in the ground or swinging over them, getting into bad counts, just wanting to do too much. And we saw half of Robert's rookie season defined by the same thing, just wanting to do too much. He played under control in April, and, you know, so that was a good sign. And that made me think that, okay, the floor isn't going to be as low. Like, you know, he's already seen the worst. He's recovered from that. So he should be able to correct himself faster than it took him in 2020, when he had, you know, basically needed 4 or 5 weeks of failure in order to realize like it wasn't working anymore. But yeah, he's been under control, looking like he should. He's been, I think, more comfortable running. He stole a base, which I think you want to see from him. So yeah, he exceeded his home run total from the first month, and in a matter of 8 games, like he's now up to 3 homers as opposed to 1. So yeah, that adds depth to the lineup. We talked about it when, you know, with the trade deadline, we were talking about how to make the lineup deeper rather than just, you know, adding bats to the back end of the lineup. And I think Robert is having the kind of at bats to where, you know, if Anderson has a day off, if you know, Hernandez is struggling, you know, if Engel's not back, like, yeah, hell, throw him in the leadoff spot. Just see what he does. You know, get him more at bats. You know, I don't think you have to hide him right now.
We did get this comment from YouTube from one of our Patreon supporters, longtime Patreon supporters, as in Rec. He sent us a comment. Was the migraine triggered by Eloy slamming into Robert in the outfield? Maybe coincidentally, that's when it started, as in Rec. As everybody was holding their breath. I enjoyed Steve Stone's commentary. One is an elite defender. The other is Eloy Jimenez.
Whoever's a Gold Glove candidate, please step forward. Not so fast, Eloy.
Back up. I do want to ask you guys this hypothetical question, and this comes from the when I helped and participated in the From the 108 live event last at Buffalo Wings and Reigns, and it's a hypothetical. So Bennett, I'll start with you because I do believe in karma. If you put in good in the world, you'll get good back. Sometimes bad things happen, and exchange of the bad things, unexpected good things will come back to help bring balance. And so far in this White Sox season, yes, we've had this terrible thing as White Sox fans of not being able to see Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez healthy all season. But in exchange, we've got a step forward, big time step forward from Dylan Cease in his progress as a starting pitcher and a career year from Carlos Rodon. So the hypothetical is this. Would you still want to keep that knowing what you know this year? Or would you exchange having a fully healthy Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert and a Dylan Cease and Carlos Rodon still struggling?
I like hypothetical questions. I'm not turning off a year where they're 25 or 20 games above 500. Like I can't throw that season away just with what we're looking at right now. I don't think you can give away this season. Even if Eloy and Luis Robert weren't playing particularly well, I don't think you can throw this season out.
All right. Do you feel the same, Jim?
Yeah, I think so. Just because we've seen the value of having 5 good starters or 5 average or better starters in the case of like Dallas Keuchel, if you don't like watching him pitch, like he's at least average. Like it's a luxury when he's your worst starter. If he's the 5th starter, your rotation is damn good, and it doesn't really matter about who's being paid what. So I think the key there is just like because of that rotation, they've avoided like the killer losing streak. Like we've seen, Cleveland fall into a ditch. We've seen the Twins, what happened to them. We've seen, just the Yankees struggle when they had so many arms on the injured list, just struggle to get right. So just having a guy you trust, basically, or a guy you're getting to trust every time out, makes up for a lot. So I think that's if they didn't have Rodon and Cease doing what they're doing, and they had Jimenez and Robert back, yeah, I don't think, maybe in terms of wins above replacement, they would be the same. Like, they would maybe net out the same, but I don't think the impact would be as felt, especially if the bullpen struggles the way it does. Because that's another thing. The rotation just made the struggles of Aaron Bummer and Evan Marshall and, the original pen is mightier pen. They're able to mask it. And I think, when you have an offense with Robert and Jimenez, and they're not like on base monsters to say like Mookie Betts would be, or like a Mike Trout would be, to where they just, they're impossible to get out. You can get them out. They also can just light up the stadium, but it's kind of like a heavyweight fight where they're not putting their guards up. Just, they'll take one in the jaw and they'll give it right back. I just don't think they would have the capabilities of covering for other weaknesses, the way having 5 good starters, having 5, every time you hand a ball to a guy, you have a chance of winning the game.
Yeah, those are all true. At the event, because I agree with you guys as well, I try to play devil's advocate to make the conversation interesting. The way that Eloy has been hitting, especially for power, since he's returned to the White Sox, we may have truly missed a very special 2021 season from Eloy Jimenez when he Vince Cartered the outfield wall in spring training. Like we would be talking about, I do believe this, we'd be talking about a great home run race between Shohei Ohtani, Vlad Guerrero Jr., and Eloy Jimenez. And we'd be talking about how Jimenez is going to set a new single-season home run record for the White Sox. In his first 25 games this season, Luis Robert was already a 1-WAR player. I think we would have been talking about Luis Robert being a 6+ WAR player for the White Sox if he was fully healthy. I think that's what we're missing this season. And the way that these two are playing since they returned from the injured list, I think just kind of solidifies any White Sox fans thinking, or anyone in Major League Baseball, that, yeah, these guys are going to be superstars. And I still believe that they're going to be superstars. And in exchange of them missing most of the season and missing out on some special seasons, you get a career year, maybe a top 3 Cy Young finisher in Carlos Rodon, and you get Dylan Cease making a really big step forward in his development, someone that you can trust more, and you can kind of squint and see where he does live up to that potential of being a mid-rotation starter, where he may be your second or third best starting pitcher out of year 5. I think that's a fair exchange. That's bad karma, but White Sox fans have gotten good karma this year, having Carlos Rodon and Dylan Cease step up big time on the starting pitching front. But now you got both. And Carlos Rodon will be returning soon. Yasmani Grandal is going to be returning soon. It is time to get hyped as White Sox fans. And Bennett also mentioned this earlier. Some other great performances so far in August. I mentioned this. Jose Abreu in the month of August is like Zeus coming down from the heavens and smiting all mortals that stand in his way. He has 7 home runs already this month, hitting .294 with a .342 on base percentage, slugging .647. I think you tweeted this out, Jim, that since the All-Star break, Tim Anderson has a really weird slash line. Anderson in August hasn't walked yet, so he's got a .304 batting average, which is his on-base percentage, but he's slugging .536 with 4 homers, and Andrew Vaughn is having also another great month, hitting .302, .423, .581 with 4 home runs. Vaughn's got 9 walks to 8 strikeouts. A great sign. So as Hawk Harrelson would say, don't stop now, boys. And we'll see if this carries over to next weekend.
Yeah, just to be clear about Anderson, like I wasn't complaining about the lack of walks. Like I'm at peace with who he is. I think asking him to draw walks is like asking Yasmani Grandal to steal 20 bases. Like it's just not going to happen. Like it's not who he is. So I'm a fan of freak flags. And so to see, like, I was looking at his like post All-Star break numbers, and like, I don't think I've ever seen, I've seen, stat lines where the average and on-base percentage are the same, but I haven't seen like ones, or you don't see it very often, where like the on-base percentage is like 5 points ahead of the batting average. Like that usually means like, just that's because usually if a guy isn't walking, he's at least usually getting like hit by pitches once in a while to kind of pad it elsewhere. But Anderson doesn't get hit by pitches. He stands off the plate. They attack him away. Like he's on Jose Abreu to where they just drill him inside. They don't want to like risk having him turn on one. So they just try to neutralize his power by going away. So no bases are free. And so that to me makes what he does and how he gets on base and how he scores runs even more impressive in a way.
Let's talk about the bullpen, because in this 4-game series against Oakland, I think we've seen the ideal blueprint for the White Sox bullpen for the upcoming season, and I think we saw a scenario on how a upcoming postseason game may have to work out for the White Sox. The ideal was Monday night. Dallas Keuchel goes 5 innings, gives the ball to Michael Kopech, who was just awesome on Monday. Just lights out in the 6th and 7th inning. Kopech hands it off to Craig Kimbrell. Kimbrell hands it off to Liam Hendricks. Boom, the White Sox win. No issues at all. Wednesday night, Jim, was weird. It took 21 pitches for Lance Lynn to record an out. That's not good. He was able to escape, I don't know how, really high leverage jams in the 1st and 3rd innings without allowing a run. And then, of course, he allows a run in the 4th inning with an opposite field home run by Seth Brown. But
one time he got the leadoff guy out.
Yeah, the one time he got the leadoff guy out. He was already at 88 pitches. He was not going to last very long in that game. And then, of course, he gets ejected. Is he the first Major League Baseball player to be ejected for throwing a belt at an umpire?
Might be. I could see like a manager doing it. Like, one of those wacky minor league ejections you sometimes see.
It would have been what's his name, who just stepped away in Cleveland. He used to get, like, people used to suspend him for not showing his belt, I think it was, because he would wear he wouldn't wear jerseys, he'd wear the team pullovers for health. He had a whole thing for a couple of years with belt. Francona. Yeah. He used to have issues with his belt.
Oh.
I only know that because I read his book. Don't read his book. It's not good. I was very excited for it to be good. It was not.
All right. So bad book reviews by Bennett Carroll. That's that. And maybe a new segment on Sox Machine Live. But in that game, you saw Garrett Crochet come out for an inning. Ryan Tepera tries to go multiple innings, faces a tough lefty. Then it's Aaron Bummer's turn to go multiple innings. And then Bummer hands it off to Liam Hendricks, who gets the last 5 outs in that game. And I think we might see a bullpen usage like that in the postseason, where the bullpen's going to have to cover most of the game when a White Sox starting pitcher struggles in the first 3 or 4 innings. How do you think the White Sox bullpen fared in these 4 games, Jim? And does it give you a little bit more confidence heading into the postseason?
Yeah, I think it does. In fairness to Tepera, like he probably should have gotten through the 7th on his own, but Luis Robert decided to imitate a Cossack dancer and almost like bicycle kicked the fly ball over the center field fence when he slipped, and then Moncada threw a ball.
That would have
away.
been an amazing catch, by the way.
Yeah, or a home run if he managed to redirect on the fly from 75 feet away. Yeah, it's, so I thought he looked good. Like the results weren't there, but the defense failed him twice on routine plays. So, he looked fine. Crochet, I think, is like he's having a good year. Like I think when it comes like the kind of, it's hot and cold. Sometimes he gets susceptible to contact, but he's been fine. Hendricks seems like he straightened himself out. Kimbrel, we didn't see because of the death in the family. Like we didn't see him like when we could have either stretched out to cover an inning plus or save a game because the game didn't get to him in that way. I think like the one situation where, you might have rethought it was Kopech pitching to Matt Olson, giving up the home run when Mitch Moreland was behind him. But I kind of like seeing a young talent like Kopech who should be able to get an Olson guy out when he has to take a run at it. Especially when you have a lead and the game is kind of inconsequential. Like you might learn something from failing, or you might learn something by getting them out. Like I think there's something to learn by facing one of your best, their best guys with your best guy and seeing how he fares. And then, maybe seeing if there's a pattern there or seeing if there are certain guys he should pitch around. But that's, I think, really when it came to the bullpen, aside from Aaron Bummer looking a little wobbly, like the only situation where I thought like either the wrong guy was called or there was a possibly wrong thought process. But ultimately, I think there was like, there are ways to learn from that to where it was just more of a take risk and it backfired, but the risk was sensible.
Bennett, how are you feeling about Liam Hendricks? This past weekend against the Yankees, not good, but against Oakland, he was definitely amped up to 11 on a 1 to 10 scale, and the stuff really played up.
Well, his wife has solved the issue, so I have no more problems. I wasn't worried about it. I'm not worried about it if they do end up facing the Yankees in the playoffs either. Listen, a reliever's going to have an issue every now and then. I'm not worried about it. But I have supreme confidence in Hendricks. After really not being sure about him to start the year, I've fully bought in. He's good to go.
All right. Well, there you go then. Let's move over to the other very good pitching performance, and I don't know what to make of this, but Jim, what are we to make of Reynaldo Lopez?
I think he's doing what he needs to do. Like I don't think he can reinvent himself. I don't think he can become like some kind of slider monster to where he throws like 40% of the time and gets like whiffs 35% of the time. I think he's going to
that attitude, Jim.
Yeah. I think he's always going to be fastball oriented, and it's just, either it's incumbent on him to maintain his best velocity or improve his command. And, improving command is always easier said than done, but he did try to, take a page from the Lucas Giolito playbook by shortening his arm swing. And it makes sense. Like when you watch like Carlos Rodon get a huge, like a scroll of a to-do list from Ethan Katz and somehow get it all right on the first try by the first week of the season and turn into a Cy Young candidate. Or you see like Lucas Giolito have like the off-season transformation he had. I think it can maybe warp expectations for somebody who's doing the same, or just think, oh, they were blowing smoke by saying that, he was working on something. He's clearly the same guy. It's another Carson Fulmer. It's never going to go right. But for Lopez, to need a spring, then he had the eye surgery in May, so he wasn't really back in action until like early June. So you figure like it took him 2 months to get up to speed, get his mechanics in line, get some confidence in what he's doing. And then like by the time the White Sox called him up, 2 out of his last 3 appearances with Charlotte were his best appearances of the year. So it doesn't feel like a total fluke. I think he's somebody who's going to look great sometimes and then probably just get beat sometimes because he only has like one way to really attack guys. Maybe he can like sneak past one turn through the lineup, mixing in some sliders when they're not expecting it. But I think if they realize like, we're eliminating his fastball, or he's trying to get me over sliders, he can get crushed. So I think as long as you allow him to have a rough game and then give him the ball back, and maybe even have 2 rough games and give him the ball back just to see what's real, I think there's something to learn. And I think his 2018 season, where he was maybe a little bit of an overperformer when it came to his ERA, like the advanced run estimators didn't really buy into what he was doing as a sub-4 guy, but as like a mid-4 guy, maybe like, just he can bully hitters with fastballs, especially lineups that, maybe aren't suited for turning around inside heat. So yeah, I think there's a guy there. I think it's more a matter of, can he stay healthy? Is the shoulder thing they had last year behind him? And can he keep throwing like 96 instead of 94?
So my follow-up question to you, Jim, is the philosophy less is more with Lopez. In the past, when he's been in the White Sox, they've given him the ball, and I'm thinking that the mental aspect of the job is I have to try go as deep as possible on 100 pitches. Would Lopez be better served moving forward, especially his major league career, if he's just a 65 pitch per outing guy?
Maybe. Like he might be somebody who's better suited for like a more advanced or more like progressive form of starting pitcher management, like, where you don't expect 5 innings every time, or you have like somebody who can piggyback with them, like we briefly saw last year when with Gio Gonzalez, like when you're hoping for like the tandem arrangement, like don't ask for 5 innings when you can get a really good 3. And they just couldn't quite commit to that. Like Rick Renteria just did not have it in him. Like he just did not think that was the way games should be started. So it's possible, but I wouldn't mind pushing them to 100, like, warm them up. Like don't, run them through walls to try to get there. But like, if he's doing okay, like, like the Dallas Keuchel start where he throws 5 decent innings and hits a wall in the 6th, I would allow him to hit a wall in the 6th. Like, and I wouldn't, because I think there are sometimes you can learn from that. The way you can occasionally like learn from Dylan Cease, going 6 when maybe he should have gone 5, because you kind of got to build up the muscle memory and build the stamina and the ability to bounce back and hang in there later in starts if you feel like they have the capability of doing that. So I wouldn't rule out that he has the capability of returning to the guy he was taking on 180 inning workload. I think if the White Sox are in an ideal spot, he would just be like the 6th starter who can, do what he's doing in the bullpen, but then stretch out, over the course of a few turns if he's needed to plug that hole.
So Bennett, naturally, with the way that Lopez has been throwing since rejoining the White Sox, you'll have White Sox fans really buy into the hype, buy as much stock as they possibly can, and start penciling Ronaldo Lopez into the 2022 starting rotation. Are you buying what you are seeing from Ronaldo Lopez, not just for the present and maybe Lopez helps out the White Sox come the postseason, but are you back on the Lopez bandwagon thinking he could still be useful for this contention window the White Sox have?
As a starter, as soon as next year, probably not. And that's just the way I'm penciling my rotation in right now, based on who's going to be back. He's probably right there with Crochet as the guy who will step in as the long relief, the multi-inning guy who can stretch out to start as need be. But for me, I need to see a few. I mean, listen, White Sox fans buying fully in after 2 or 3 weeks is about right for White Sox fans. But I need to see a little bit more before I can commit to him long term at all, much less in the rotation. So I think for this year, his role where he's kind of I'll almost say Michael Kopech's understudy, where he's doing kind of a similar but not the same role for Michael Kopech, is perfect for him. I think he can keep doing that and really show that that's his thing. And next year, he can, you can kind of have an open competition for that spot. And if he doesn't win it, he's still going to, he's going to have a shot on the major league roster as long as he plays well. So for this year, no. For the future, we'll see.
I find his next start is going to be on Sunday, which we're going to preview this upcoming series again in Tampa Bay in a moment here. I find this upcoming start intriguing, Jim, for the future, because
Mhm.
I could totally see a team like Tampa Bay calling Rick Hahn after the season and asking about Ronaldo Lopez's availability. If he truly is best served throwing 65 to 75 pitches, because if he is, that really fits with the Rays' pitching mentality, especially when it comes to starting pitching and using openers.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I'm thinking like he doesn't really have a great breaking ball the way that like, sometimes I think when I think of like Rays reclamation projects, they tend to like just either flip a pitch usage pattern, or they, maybe work on pitch design and, get something more out of him. I don't know if they would be so enamored with like a Lopez who's so fastball oriented to trade for him, unless they think like they can. Well, I mean, they did claim Dylan Covey, or they did have him briefly. So I think like sometimes I think they do, or they don't mind looking at a power arm and seeing, if they can maybe get more out of that power. But yeah, I think, he's the kind of guy to where if the White Sox say non-tendered him last year, when you're talking about non-tendering him, and they thought like, well, that was a weird season. Perhaps, we saw something in his first 60 pitches or whatever, and saw something in the way fatigue affected him. If we can remove that from the equation, we might have something there. Like, I think they would take him for free or signing him for the league minimum or whatever like that. But I don't know if trading for it, like, I still think he needs probably, finish the season strong to have trade value, because if he has another rough start, or he has like the shoulder thing flare up again, what have you, like he'll be a guy whose arbitration trajectory might price him out of a tendering conversation the way it did with Yolmer Sanchez. So he's in kind of a weird kind of limbo state right now when it comes to both his value and salary, to where he kind of has to prove it a little bit to maintain his value for other teams, versus other teams just kind of waiting him out and saying like, oh, we'll claim him when he's available, but right now we're not going to go out of our way to get him.
Sure, but if he duplicates his performance that he had against Oakland on Sunday against Tampa Bay, I'm just saying it may plant a seed within the Rays organization of, we should maybe talk to Rick Hahn after the season about what they're going to do with Ronaldo Lopez, because he kind of fits with what we like to do, especially in the starting pitching front. And hopefully Lopez does have a good start against Tampa Bay. And let's go ahead and preview this mega matchup between two of the American League's best. The Tampa Bay Rays are 75-47 on the season. That is the best record in the American League. So if the season were to end today, the American League pennant runs through St. Petersburg, Florida, of all places. The Rays have a 5.5 game lead over the New York Yankees, who are red hot since July 1st. The Yankees are now back into the postseason picture as they have one of the wild card spots, as the Yankees are 69-52. So the Rays really could use a series win here instead of sweating and hoping that the Yankees slow down. For those that are wondering who the Yankees are playing this weekend, they are playing the Minnesota Twins. And we know how those games usually go for Minnesota. So I'm expecting the train to keep rolling for the Yankees this weekend, while the White Sox are 71-51 and still maintain a very healthy 11.5 game lead as we are streaming this on youtube.com/Sox Machine over Cleveland. Your pitching probables for this series starting on Friday. Again, these are all East Coast games, so it's going to be a 6:10 p.m. Central Time start. It's Lucas Giolito on the mound against Michael Wacha. On Saturday, it is a 12:10 Central Time start, so quick turnaround. It's Dallas Keuchel against Luis Patino. And then on Sunday, as we mentioned, Ronaldo Lopez will be making the start, and it's to be determined for Tampa Bay. For those that don't live in Chicago, this game will also be broadcasted on TBS, as it'll be one of the national broadcasts through the country on Sunday, so you'll get an opportunity to watch them. And the White Sox and Rays will also be on MLB Network Friday night. So if you don't live in Chicago, you got a couple opportunities to watch the White Sox on a national broadcast, either MLB Network on Friday or TBS on Saturday. All right, Jim, the White Sox already won one series against the Tampa Bay Rays earlier this year in Chicago. Now they head to Tampa for 3 games against the Rays. What are you expecting to see in this in this last series against the Rays until at least the postseason?
Well, it feels like there's the opportunity for, the guys we talked about, Roberts, Jimenez, Abreu, Vaughn, to continue their hot stretches. Like I'm looking at like the Rays schedule because I know they've had a good month, but they face the Orioles, the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are struggling, but I mean, the Rays are kind of partially responsible for their struggling. So that's a direct head-to-head matchup. But then the Twins, then the Orioles. They've played the Orioles 7 times. The Orioles, they one of 3 teams to lose 14 games twice in a season since 1901. So it just, but I'm looking at like some of the runs allowed, and like the Orioles put a couple 6 spots on them. The Twins scored 12 runs on them. The Red Sox scored 20 runs on them in the game. So they can occasionally be beat. They have some starters there. They have some like pitching days where they expect probably to lose or maybe have to eat it. So when you see Waka starting, when you see Patino, who hasn't, he's got good stuff. I think he was hurt a little bit. So I'm not sure exactly what the state of his stuff is now, but he could, being a Tampa Bay rookie, he could have the potential for domination early, but they have some weak spots in rotation. The White Sox are seeing one of them right now, to where they should be able to at least get some licks in. And, the Rays are equally capable of dishing it out with their, modular lineups that they can kind of shape to fit whoever's pitching. But I would hope to at least, should it be a series loss, and I think they could take 2 out of 3, but should they end up on the wrong side of a 3-game series? I hope at least like they get some haymakers and just kind of, a couple slobber knockers.
So Jim points out that the Rays aren't exactly pitching all that great, especially this month, but the Rays have been hitting Bennett. And for Lucas Giolito, he had a tough time against the Yankees lineup that was continuing to foul off pitches, really made Giolito work, kind of similar type of start that Lance Lynn just had against the Oakland Athletics. And again, we're in this 2-week stretch of the White Sox facing teams that are really good and aiming to make the postseason this year. What are you hoping to see from Lucas Giolito Friday night against Tampa?
Ease. It feels like a lot of Lucas Giolito's best starts this year have been not tightrope walks, but a lot finer of a line that he's walked than I feel like in the last couple of years where he's pitched well, where he's just needed to be a little bit more perfect and make a little bit less of a mistake. So seeing a start where that's not the case, where he can just, we'll say whether or not he was doing anything before, return to kind of that older, just blow by people rather than having to nail everything perfectly to really beat a team up, would be my preference. If he can just find that ease, find that center and dominate.
And Jim, if the White Sox, let's say they do win this series, can White Sox fans say, hey, the White Sox are the team to beat in the American League? Will it give them more credence as far as with that statement after winning both series against Tampa Bay this season?
I would say that they'd be a team to beat. I don't think one series says a whole lot, especially if the Rays still have the better record and playing in the better division. Like they've been stress tested when you have not only Red Sox and Yankees, but Toronto too, just being formidable, and to hold 3 teams off rather than 0 teams off in the Central. I think the Rays have that going for them. But I mean, if the White Sox win the series, feel confident, kind of puff up your chest a little bit. What's the, you shouldn't feel bad about it. There's no reward for, I guess pride isn't a sin here. It's baseball. Enjoy good performances. So it's should be a confidence booster. It's funny thing is though, when you're looking at the records for, records against teams that are 500 or better, it's funny how much that fluctuates, because Oakland entered the series with the White Sox as having a worse record than the White Sox against winning teams. But then the Angels won 3 in a row, tipped over 500, and Oakland's better than the White Sox. So so just that's why that stat is kind of misleading, especially when you have a few teams that just hover on the brink, a few games over or under, that just kind of it's more of a hammer than a chisel when it comes to precision of a measurement tool. So that's why I think I don't pay too much attention to that. But having good performances against good teams, that's really the only thing the White Sox are missing on a regular basis.
Well, so far during this stretch, they are 4-3 after taking 3 out of 4 against Oakland, and of course going 1-2 against the Yankees, with the one win being the Field of Dreams game and Tim Anderson's dramatic walk-off home run. So far so good for the White Sox during this really tough stretch. Again, it's 3 games in Tampa, and after the series in St. Petersburg, the Chicago White Sox traveled to Toronto, Canada for the first time since 2019, where they'll have a 4-game series against the Blue Jays, and there's going to be lots of offense in those 4 games. That's going to be a good test for the White Sox starting pitching, because the Blue Jays, man, they can hit. They can hit. And hopefully the White Sox get some good news that Carlos Rodon and maybe even Yasmani Grandal rejoin the team as the White Sox continue to get stronger as we progress further. And then, of course, after this stretch, the White Sox come home and they get to face the Chicago Cubs for a weekend series, get a day off, and get 2 games at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So it gets a little easier after this 7-game road trip for the White Sox, heading to Tampa and Toronto. But that will do it for this episode of Sox Machine Live. Thank you to everyone that watched the live stream on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Sox Machine. And if you just discovered, as far as the Sox Machine Live aspect, you please subscribe to our YouTube page. That would greatly help us. I think we're inching closer to 500 subscribers. And we just kind of restarted this YouTube page. So if you have the moment, if you can go ahead and smash the subscribe button, as the cool kids say, that will help us greatly. And we also have a Patreon page, which you can help support us at patreon.com/Sox Machine, where our Patreon supporters get exclusive content. They get ad-free versions of both the podcast and website, and they get the first opportunity as well to purchase any new Sox Machine swag that we have. And Jim, I think you have an update here that the Sox Machine ball caps, which are awesome, that you have just recently shipped out some.
Yeah, the first batch that I received, the shipment came in 2 pieces. So the first shipment I received is already in the mail. I'll be getting the second shipment in. I was supposed to get it today, but then they decided that my house was a business and saw that I had no open hours, and realized I didn't know I needed to say my house is open at 3:48 in the morning. So it's I straightened out with UPS. I'll be getting them tomorrow, and then they'll be going in the mail on Saturday, the rest of them.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Today I learned something.
I didn't know that either.
So the follow-up question would be, hey, Jim, will there be another order of Sox Machine ball caps?
I will have extras in the once I get through, make sure that all the pre-orders are accounted for. I'll be taking a tally of the inventory and then putting them in the Sox Machine stores. So keep look out for probably, I would say, next week at some point to check in case you missed the pre-order window.
All right, so there you go, folks. And again, we have monthly plans at $2, $3, $5, and $10 a month. So if you enjoy our work and want more, go to patreon.com/Sox Machine to sign up. And we are close to 550 Patreon supporters, which, guys, it greatly helps us. And we are looking to expand our coverage when the postseason comes. So the more Patreon supporters that we get, the more that we can do. So again, if you really want us to amp up as far as the content machine, go to patreon.com/Sox Machine and sign up today. If you just discovered the Sox Machine podcast, or just discovered us on Twitter or the website, you could follow us on Twitter. We are at Sox Machine. You could follow me on Twitter. I'm at SoxMachine_Josh. And if you need a personal hype man to get you more Twitter followers, follow Bennett at the Bennett K, as he is excellent at that. And you can subscribe to the Sox Machine podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, just in case if you ever miss a live stream of Sox Machine Live. And Sox Machine Live is a production of SoxMachine.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, and your home for all things Chicago White Sox baseball. Alongside Bennett Carroll and Jim Margulis, I'm Josh Nelson. Thanks for watching and listening.